Hello, Father John Dunn with you on this, the second Sunday of Advent. And in Auckland, we're just beginning the traffic light system and we are on traffic light red. Rather than a stop, for us it might seem to be a little bit of a go. And in some ways, our limited freedoms are beginning to loosen up. We can go to Mass, we can enter places with a pass, of course, and it's a little bit of hope and joy for us and for many people for whom lockdown has been so hard and so difficult. Economies can start again, businesses and schools for a little while. It's new beginnings in a limited way. What is a pandemic and what does it do in the longer term and what does it do in the shorter term? The readings of Advent make us look forward to our salvation. Advent means not just the coming of Christ, it means a specific kind of coming, the coming that we have absolutely no control over. It comes to us from the future and it embraces us in all its newness each day and every day. In one sense, every day of our lives when we get up in the morning is an Advent, and to throw ourselves into the day and the following of Christ is part of our living fully our Christian vocation. But we need to be careful when we talk about new beginnings. For many of us, lockdown has meant quite the opposite. And for some, it has been terrible suffering, but a little bit of light. Businesses can start over. We can return to church. We have to bear a pass, but that's a small exchange for a future in which not only you and I, but everyone in the country is safe. Let's look at our readings then. Let's begin with Jerusalem. For the Jewish people of the time, God dwelt in the temple, and Jerusalem was his city. And there God dwelt in covenant relationship with the people. He was their God, and they were God's people. So what happens when invaders come, destroy the city, burn the temple, and take all those people away to Babylon, to slavery? Baruch pictures this as God in Jerusalem as a widow who has lost her children and her husband. She is left with nothing, and she's wearing her mourning garments. But Baruch, speaking to the people in slavery and suffering in Babylon, looks to Jerusalem and says, Mother Jerusalem, take off your mourning garments, put on your best robes, because your children are coming back to you. It's looking into the future, but it is a moment of hope, and which will keep the people in their suffering going, because hope is the one thing that keeps us looking forward into a fuller future. St. Paul is a good example of this in the second reading. He's writing it from prison, and you wouldn't think it the way he writes. So he overcomes his present circumstances and fills them not only with a great love of the people he's writing to, but also a passion for the gospel and for its future. Love is at the heart of everything, and underlying love is the hope that God has in us and for our world, pandemics notwithstanding. In the Gospel, we find John the Baptist appearing at the River Jordan and baptizing. The River Jordan had a symbolic meaning for the Jewish people. It was the liminal edge, the boundary. It was the river that the Jewish people crossed over into the so-called Promised Land. So John goes back to the edges and invites the people to come to him, to turn from their sins and be converted into a new Advent when God would come and renew the Jewish people. Next, the Gospel goes on, where Jesus comes to John and the new beginnings, really start. So for us, let's have a little reflection. We come to terms with, not only in this lockdown, with where we've come from. A nice open look at our lives is helpful. A nice open and good look at our present and our present relationships. And then that question, what is our hope? What is our hope for the future, the immediate future? of ourselves, our families, of our present suffering. The gospel invites us to see each day when we get up as a gift. And in this Advent season, it's the beginning of the church's year, remember, as we look forward to Christmas and maybe holidays. There is a deeper meaning to that God comes to us in deepest love. We need to reach out in hope, and there, in faith and love, find a new beginning. Whatever the pandemic, and I'm thinking that the evil in this world is like a pandemic, which also needs healing, we can in that way make sure that as we enter into this red light era, and hopefully orange very soon, that we will be ready, and that whatever the pandemic has given us, we will come through it as people of love.